Number of people using email as a form of communication will go up to 4.6 billion users. That's more than half the population of the world. But that's not all. Over 375 billion emails will be sent and received every day by 2025. These statistics itself prove how useful email can be for an organization that wants to reach its target audience or bring its brand story much closer to the people. From fintech to food delivery apps, from real estate to 10-minute delivery apps, email marketing allows the brand to implement its direct marketing strategy for acquiring and retaining its customers. The potential of email marketing is limitless. So much so that it is estimated that for every $1 spent on email marketing, the return on investment is $40. So with that said, you must have already understood how important it is to know the ins and outs of email marketing. From digital marketing to email marketing specialists and even email marketing automation experts, the need and demand for skilled professionals exist in large numbers. So hold on to your seats and stay tuned with us till the end of the session as we take you through the workings of email marketing and its strategy. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel and put your impressions in the comment section below. Let me now quickly give you the agenda for today's session. We'll start with the very fundamentals of understanding what is email marketing. From there, we'll move on to understand how you can implement an email marketing strategy for mobile devices. You'll also get to learn how to reach the user's inbox and not end up in the spam folder. Moving towards the end of the session, we'll teach you what are the major flaws of an email marketing strategy, and then we will discuss how you can overcome all these flaws through a bunch of effective tips and tricks. By the end of the session, we'll show you how you can write a great mail that will get those impressions and sales numbers skyrocketing.
Let's get started. So today we are going to talk about email marketing. Okay, so I know like there's a bit of numbers and all of those things here now, but at the same time, when you think of email marketing, all of us over here, I'm sure, have used emails. We have email. Most of us use Gmail, and at the same time, we see like so many emails that come to us. There is promotional email, there are transactional email, there are emails about whatever we have shopped for, or if we have added something to cart, there's email about that. And at the same time, it's like there are so many like emails which essentially try to communicate to you about different aspects of things, right? Previously, traditionally, all of these things we would have over at through normal mails, which essentially means like they would send it to our address at home. But these days, all of these things have transferred into email. Now, with that said, email, because of all of this transformation and because communication for businesses is important, what has essentially happened is almost like most of the people who have access to internet would have an email at least, and that figure is almost like 4.4 billion people in the world. There's like 8 plus billion people in the world today, and like more than half of them have an email address, right? And at the same time, uh, email is like one of the most preferred channel for any kind of communication, be it related to your credit card or the statements, bank statements. Then there is like promotion and so many different things, right? Because it is much easier, it saves time, it is instant, and essentially the minute you see an email, like you have all the informations you need. You don't need to, type an address and all. You just need to click a link and you can access so many different things. So with that said, email is obviously quite important. And we'll start with personalization first. Okay. So, and now, one of the best things about email is being able to personalize it in a for a specific user. Okay, so this is just an example of Google ads. I'm sure when you just Google something, you'd see an ad around it, right? Now, what happens with Google ads is those ads are not personalized. They are essentially ads that are related to your searches. They are not related to you. Essentially, the ad will never say like, for example, let's say, hi, your name or whatever that is, right? It'll not go there. It'll not say like, hi, John Cena or something like that. It'll just be like, okay, you're searching for cars. You can search for cars over here. If you want to sell your cars, you can sell your cars over here. That's about it. So, and that is something that happens across majority of the online advertisements, be it Google ads, be it Facebook ads, be it LinkedIn ads, because of so many different reasons, right? But when it comes to email ads, that's not the case. So this is an example of Facebook ad. As you can see, it says like, okay, manage your agency customers faster, improve their performance. But like there is no personalization here. It's like, okay, if you are interested into it, you can probably do it. Same goes with one of the Instagram posts. So as I mentioned, right, it does not address any specific person. It doesn't address any specific problem that the specific user might have. And it also does not address the specific user's buying or browsing behavior. Like you can definitely target interests. You can definitely target behaviors of people. You can do this across social media and Google ads, etc. But you cannot know about the person directly and then do it, right? So essentially, at overall, it's like because of so many different reasons, it's not personal. Because when you think of it, due to so many privacy laws and all, what essentially happens across the ad platforms is you have to make sure that you're not able to identify a single user for targeting the advertisements. So unless and until you're using the first party, let's say audiences, it becomes like highly impossible for you to do or identify a specific users unless and until you know the user in and out about their demographics, etc. So with that said, that is not the case with email, because the email subscribers that you have are people that you already know, or they are maybe your customers, or maybe they are somehow associated with you. They have shared certain information with you, and utilizing all of that, you can make it personal. So just to take a look, right, like what is personalization over here? As you can see over here, like this is one of the examples of personalized email. The name is included. You're directly addressing the person here. There's a coupon that you can include, which also includes their name over here. You can also share products that they might actually be interested in. You can do all of these things by like essentially automating and utilizing whatever data that you have already collected of the user. Let's say if they have signed up with your website, maybe they are browsing some of the products, and then you notice like, okay, probably these products might be of interest to them. They or maybe they have ordered some products in the past, and you would like to target them or focus on them, right? So all of those things are possible because of personalization and by utilizing email marketing, right? That is how powerful it is. So here's another example. So this is an email, old email of Dropbox. They are addressing the person by the name, and based on their behavior, they are essentially telling like what the like they're trying to retain the user for a higher period of time so that they can use different features of the application. So oftentimes it happens that our, let's say if you have a application or a software, there might be some features that the users are using and the others that they are not. And if you're tasked with, let's say, increasing the utilization of the other parts, you can collect the data around it. You can send emails and let them know. Essentially, oftentimes I've seen software will have a lot of features, but people are just not aware of it. And email campaigns around it can be very fruitful. Similarly, there is this other example around personalization of emails. Over here, this is more of the birthday related email. So essentially, if in this case there was someone's birthday, which is Ben, and Ben got an email related to birthday, the color, and exclusive discount code, etc. And in fact, this is something that a lot of e-commerce websites still do, especially for members, or if let's say you are a specific member and you have shared these details, they would keep sharing these coupons, etc. with you, because what happens is the minute you see it, you are more inclined to make that purchase, and that is why personalization is the key. Now, the second aspect of why it is important is emails, right? And emails essentially being accessible on mobile. Now, this is obviously a little bit old data, but all of you know how important smartphones are, especially in India. uh, Smartphones and their internet usage has increased tremendously, so big that most of the popular online social media or social networks will mostly have Indians. And that is the power of numbers, right? That is the power of scale, which essentially tells us like how big the market is. Right now, I'm sure like over 70% of the people in India will have access to internet, and this is possible because of something that we all know, right? Which is geo. So essentially, that is how big it is. And given that emails are something which are very integral to a smartphone, so when you, let's say, get a new phone, right? What is the first thing that you do? You essentially input your Google ID. Or at least you create a Google email account. The minute you do that, you're essentially creating an email ID, and that is the reason the number of people here has increased like crazy. So with that said, the minute there's an email that goes to a user's email account, there's also a notification that comes up, which enables them to go to the particular email and view it as well. So that is how powerful it is. Now, the third reason is it is cheap. So compared to other ad platforms, emails are much more cheaper than, let's say, an advertisement, etc. So like obviously the cost to send an email can range between 10 paisa to 20 paisa. There are some ways that you can even lower that further. It depends on what kind of scale that you're working at. Sometimes people send emails using um, let's say different servers, different technologies. As you get deeper into it, and that's the best part about it, right? This is not something that is doable in advertisements or online ad platforms. But emails, as you scale it up, your cost for that can also get lower. But that is not the same with advertisement. In ads, what happens is as you scale up, oftentimes the cost of acquisition or essentially keeps increasing. So as you can see, right, the cost of acquisition, if we were just to compare it and look into it in a Google ads, probably it will be somewhere around 3,000 on average. Maybe social media, it will be around 2,800, but email marketing will be somewhere around 1,800 because of the history of how people open the email, then click the link, and then essentially become a customer, or at least make a sale. So because that is what it is all about, right? So if you look into it, at the end of the month, let's say you spend 5,000 in Facebook, 3,000 in Google, and 2,000 email, that's like 10,000 on marketing. And if let's say you have received 1,000 customers for that, the cost of acquisition is basically 10 rupees, right? So this is the basic way you calculate the cost of acquisition of customer. But essentially that is what it is all about. Like when you look at how the cost, when you compare the cost, it is going to be cheaper. However, as a marketer, I'm not saying that you should not be advertising on Google, you should not be advertising on social media. I'm just talking about why it is important, right? Now, it is also smart and automated. One of the best things about email is there is so many opportunity, there's so many ways that you can automate a lot of things around email. So essentially, let's say if you own a gym, and let's say you want to make sure that you want to drop emails to them after certain times, so you can do that. So and this is something that happens quite a lot in e-commerce, right? So I'm sure many of you on Myntra, for example, or even on Amazon, if you add something to cart, soon after that, you will receive an email, follow-up email, saying that you were interested in this, you did not proceed further with this, or maybe it will say like, why don't, like, is there something that we can do? Is what is stopping you? Anything, right? So there is going to be a follow-up email which tells you that why haven't you actually proceeded with it? Or and what happens is, oftentimes by looking at that email, customers are like, okay, maybe they forgot about it, maybe they were in the process of buying it but they did not actually convert it. So because of this, what happens is they are able to then convert these customers as well. And this is an industry metric that I have usually seen, wherein oftentimes when you send an email for an abandoned cart, so that's what we call it, because they have abandoned the shopping cart of the shopping website. So when you send an email for someone who has abandoned a cart, oftentimes there's somewhere between 5 to 10% of conversion rate, which is huge when you compare with any other let's say form of marketing. And the best part is this is automated. You don't need to like get the list of people who have abandoned and then like email them separately and all of this can be set up automatically. There's like, for example, Mailchimp is one of the popular platform that we are going to look at as well, and you can automatically set it to work that way. So this is one of those examples, right? Like how essentially the automation works. So and this is like essentially a drip email marketing is what we can call it. So there's like, let's say you sent one email to someone. Now in email there is something called as open rate. So let's say out of 100 people there is an open rate of maybe 50 people, or let's go with 40. Okay, so let's say there's an open rate of 40%, which means like 40 people opened it, and then out of 60 people did not open it. Now what will happen is, based on people who have opened it and who have not opened it, so the ones who have not opened it, they will receive a follow-up email maybe like 48 hours later. And the ones who have opened it and they have responded, the second mail will go ahead with like how they can proceed further with the sale or something like that. If they have not responded, again after 48 hours, they will get a follow-up email. So essentially a follow-up email, this might be the same email or different based on like what the criteria is, but a follow-up email will be sent based on this automation, and that is something that can be easily done, even if and it does not require for you to understand coding and all. It is just a normal flowchart. You can build whatever type of flowchart that you want, and all of this is possible utilizing something like, let's say, a Mailchimp or any of these tools. Mailchimp is one of the most popular, but there are n number of tools which allow this. So these are some of the scenarios, right, around like what are the things that you can automate with email follow-up. So it's like, let's say if they have not made any purchase in some time, if let's say they have abandoned the cart, and let's say based on their online behavior, you can also send them details of different things, different discounts and all of those things, right, based on their interest in particular category. So let's say if in Myntra you are interested in jackets, and maybe during the month of October to December, Myntra has identified that you often, like every year, you look at jackets and try to buy those. So what happens is Myntra will now, what they will do is they will look at this behavior, and based on that, between this period, they will send you some emails around different jackets or new designs of jackets that are there that may be of interest to you. So uh, by doing so, one is they will remind you that Myntra is available. Two is that essentially you will then be more inclined to browse it because this is something that you're already used to doing. So you'll be like, oh yeah, you have made purchases from Myntra. Why don't you go again and why don't you take a look at it again? So that is essentially how you can do it. So these are some of the other platforms as well. I mentioned MailChimp, there's Netcore, then Octane. But yeah, like there are so many different platforms that allow automation. So yeah, this is these are some of the examples of automation. Let's say you have sent out 1 lakh emails, and essentially sales has received like 20 customers through these emails. So like the sales team is happy, but they are like, why don't you send more emails, right? So now over here, what would you do? Would you like shoot another email or analyze the results, right? So before I proceed to the next slide, this is a question to you guys as well. In fact, like let's say you have received like 20 sales by sending it to 1 lakh customers. Now, what is the action that you will do? Will you like send emails or analyze? So when you say analyze, right, what goes to my mind is all of you are someone who are data driven, who would look at data before making a decision. And that is the true crux of being a digital marketer. One of the thing is when you use a email marketing platform like MailChimp, you don't need to really worry about a domain being blacklisted because they have multiple servers that send millions of emails almost every minute now. But if let's say you are using your own server, then there is a method that you would have to follow of warming up the IPs and whatnot. So usually it is best to sort of work with these email platforms like MailChimp and all. But as you grow into it, as you get into it further, you can also sort of start to branch out. You would look at trying to understand like what are the important things to look. Essentially you would look at the open rate. You would look at how many people have opened, how many have not. Then the ones who have not opened, maybe you will send a follow-up email and all of those things, right? Then you will also look at optimizing things like the subject line, the content. Maybe you can do an A/B testing around content. You can send like 50% of the emails you can subscribers, you can send like one type of content. Other 50% you can send a different type of content and see like what type of content works. You can change the links. Maybe you can provide only one link or more link. There are so many opportunities, and that is what a marketer should do. Essentially look at different ways to keep optimizing and improve the results, right? And that is where the next part is. It is measurable. Now, best part about email is like the reason you can measure and optimize all of this is because email is measurable. And this is what I was talking about. You can measure the number of people who have opened email, the number of clicks that you have gotten from the email. What is the click-through rate, which is nothing but the number of unique clicks divided by number of emails open into 100 for changing it into percentage. Then conversions. This is nothing but like the number of people who have actually made the purchase or became a lead uh, through the emails that you have sent. So this is an example of like how you can calculate the percentage or the open rates and all. This is nothing but the percentage calculation. So let's say when I say 50% people or 50% is the open rate, that basically means like the number of people who have opened divided by the total number of emails that are sent. Similarly, when I say click-through rate, it's nothing but the number of people who have opened. So the number of people who have opened becomes the denominator, and the number of people who have clicked becomes the numerator. So it's essentially the clicks divided by the opens. You multiply it by 100 and you get the percentage. So similarly, then when you look at the percentage of people who have actually made the purchase, you would take the purchases divided by clicks. So this is essentially how you would go ahead with this. This is an example of what the data could look like. So as you can see, there's like the open rate, then um, some of the marketing tools, email marketing tools, that is, they also provide like list average, industry average, and all. But it basically gives you a good idea of what is the open rate, and then what is the click rate, number of opens, number of clicks, how many bounced, how many unsubscribed. All of these details are available. So that's pretty much, like, I would say, why email marketing is so important, right? Like, there is so many things around it. There is so much data around it that email has become one of the most popular things. Now, while we understand its importance and why it is so good and all, I want to ask a question before I proceed to the next slides or the next part of this subject. Uh, what would you guys say recently is a trend in industry? And I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of you might have been able to relate to this. Similar to email, there is another platform which businesses are also using these days. They are sending us messages which are personalized, which is also very similar to email. The message is also very similar to email, and which is also seeing a lot of traction these days. It's a social media platform, and it is seeing a lot of traction. Okay, so now let's quickly look at what is email marketing. So we looked at why it is important. We understood what are the different aspects to it. We understood that it is something which has a lot of accessibility. It is something that can be automated, and it is also something that can be measured. So now let's try and understand more about email marketing, right? So as I mentioned, it's nothing but a way of delivering messages. So essentially, this is where businesses can generate revenue. So oftentimes what happens is you will have a bunch of customers, but and then you have, let's say, social media platform and whatnot. But at the same time, if you would like to interact with these customers once again, emails are the best way to do that. So even when it comes to launching a new product, or let's say if you have a software, maybe you launched a new feature, if you are offering services and you have launched a new service, all of those things can be promoted through email marketing, because that's the best way to do an outreach to people who have already utilized your business, are aware of your business, and are in some way connected to your business, right? So there are some examples around email marketing. Let's take a quick look at these, so that we can understand and uh, understand this a bit better. Okay, so yeah, now this is an email from Flipkart, and this is an example, like, promotional email from Flipkart. Um, is this email marketing? I mean, yeah. Uh, then there is Amazon promotional email. There is Coupon Dunia promotional email. Yeah. Then now I would I did not talk about these because obviously these are email marketing, but what would you talk about this? Would you say this is email marketing? This is nothing but blogger or information that is being shared. This is more of an informational or a newsletter. Yes, this can be email marketing, but at the same time, uh, what about transactional emails? Would you say transactional emails are email marketing? Transactional email could be credit card statements, it could be bank statements, it could be order information that you have placed order and all. So essentially, email marketing is a way for your business to achieve a goal. That goal can be sales. as we saw here. That goal can be for them to book flights and all. That goal can be for them to interact with your website, engage with your website, bring traffic to your website. But a transactional email is something that happens after a transaction is already done. It's just us sharing information to them, like, okay, this is the transaction that you have made. So obviously that is not email marketing. So when you're doing email marketing, make sure you differentiate between these two. However, uh, oftentimes I've also seen some of the marketers utilize transactional emails to upsell other products or other services. So let's say if they have bought something, they will send a transactional email with details. And at the bottom, probably they will also add some kind of a promotional content like, okay, maybe you have bought shoes. Are you interested in socks? I'm just coming up with an example out of top of my mind. But what would you call that? Would you call it transactional? Would you call it promotional? What would you call it? Because it is still sharing transactional information. Absolutely, I would call it both, to be honest. But yeah, it's a bit of both, because essentially you are sharing transactional details, but at the same time you're also promoting something a little bit. However, what happens here is this is just something that I have seen a few marketers try. It works sometimes, it doesn't. The reason it does not work is when you add some promotional content, right? Oftentimes, the email might not go into the updates folder or the actual inbox. So, because of that, oftentimes when customers also not receive a confirmation that they have done a transaction, that can have a drop in the brand value. So always measure when you're trying something new, or when you're trying something based on what I mentioned. Always make sure that you measure and understand if something is working or not, how it is impacting, how it is, let's say, instead of positive impact, if it has a negative impact in some way, is like you should be measuring that and understanding that, so that you can create changes accordingly. Okay, so yeah, now let's take a look at some of the problems with email marketing, right? So now, and this is something that in fact like it's more in line with the promotional aspect as well. But when you look at this, right, which email would you prefer? Would you prefer one on the left or the right? The one on the left is nothing but an HTML email, right? So you create it over using HTML. Obviously, there are tools wherein you can build these HTML emails much more easily. You don't need to know the language of HTML to do that. But this is essentially an HTML email. And now this is basically a black and white text email, right? So it just like, okay, hi, whatever the person name, you like have a quick greeting to them, you talk about something interesting, and then you're like, okay, let me know if you need any help and so forth. So now, to people who said that, let's say the left one is better, the right one is better. So obviously, the left one is more graphically intensive, but at the same time, I wouldn't call it very intensive, but at the same time, it is uh, much more defined in terms of a promotional mail. The minute you look at it, the minute you open it, it is a promotional mail. Uh, However, sometimes because people are used to such emails for your business, if let's say your business is more into let's say sales or B2C customers and so forth, the one on the left might actually work out better than for you. However, if let's say you're more into B2B, or where customers actually have take time to convert, or let's say you're managing account, something on the right might work for you. And yeah, exactly. As Lalit also said, like right gives more of a personal feel, left feels more of an advertisement. Now, here is the thing, right? There is a good chance that based on what your business is, based on what your business is doing, one of this type of email might work the best for you, and one of this might not. So this is what I was talking about when I mentioned the measurable aspect to it, and how you optimize your email based on the content. So at the end of the day, we are digital marketers. We are supposed to be data driven, and these are the type of tests that you should conduct when you're trying to understand, or when you're trying to finalize what type of content that you would go forward. So yeah, uh, at the end of the day, left is also right, right one is also right. It all depends on the business and what type of thing that you guys are doing. So now there is another aspect to emails, right? Which is the sender name. One of the thing with email is email marketing specifically, you can also customize the name of the sender. So now let's look at some of these examples. So in this sender, the sender is Spice It. In here, the sender is Cash Karo. And here, the sender is Nico Papas, right? So this guy is from yesway.com, but you get the idea, right? So now what is happening here is someone who's receiving an email will also check the sender of the email, because uh, emails are nothing but something which can also be very personal. So what are the two things that are visible, right? So the moment you have an email or you get an email, the two things that are visible are the subject of the email and the person who is sending the email, the name of the person. So the moment you have email IDs which says like sales or promotion or something at the rate at whatever the company, or do not reply, no reply at company, what happens is that becomes quite robotic. And we as humans, because we have seen so many such emails, we often tend to ignore it because we know like it is something that is not even relevant for us, or more there's a good chance that it is just marketing. Now, similarly, in the second one also, the email was pretty much robotic, and like it gives an image that it was just marketing and whatnot. But when it comes to the third one, right? So when it comes to this one, it feels more personal. You actually get to see the name of the person. You actually get to see like, okay, a photo or whatnot. It becomes more personal. So when you see this, there is a higher chance that you might end up opening this email. And that is also very important because this helps you separate emails that are promotional emails versus the ones that are more personal. Now, how can you use this for normal email marketing, right? I'm not sure how many of you might have seen such emails, but oftentimes there will be people who would send emails like, let's say, Nico from Yesware. Because what happens is it is also important that you don't miss out on adding your brand name, right? Your brand name is your identity, so you cannot make it too personal. So the best way that people actually navigate through that is just by adding the first name of someone who manages emails or who is a sales rep, and then saying like from this particular let's say domain or this particular company. And this is something that I've seen actually work quite well for a lot of companies. I'm trying to see if I can find some examples. I'm not able to at the moment, but this is something that has worked quite a bit. Yeah, so I just found one. This is one of those emails, right? So if you see, this guy is like Tim from Web Design Inspiration. So they are trying to make sure that they are using their first name, and at the same time, they are also making sure that the brand name is also added over here. So this, what happens is, it becomes a little bit more personal, and it becomes a little bit more like something that you were more inclined or might be more interested to open when you look into it. So email marketing optimized for mobiles, right? Now, one of the things that I was mentioning earlier is how mobile phone is where a lot of emails are open because of its accessibility, because it is so easy for people to use emails on mobile. Even my work emails, oftentimes I end up opening on mobile because I might not be at my desk when I receive them, and it's just much easier for me to go through them, right? So that is how far email on mobiles have reached. So with that said, obviously it is very important to optimize the emails that are sent to mobile. Now, one of the best things today is when you're sending just text email, the way that you see it on mobile versus the way that you see it on desktop will be different. However, when you're sending an HTML email, it is important that it looks good on mobile as well. So one of the things is the platforms these days, like MailChimp, actually have this already available. So any template or any emails that you create will by default be optimized for mobile. So you don't really need to worry that much about it. But as you move forward, as you scale out of it, it is important that you look into it. And even if, let's say, you're not using MailChimp, whatever other platforms you use, make sure that it has uh, the mobile aspect also very well maintained, so at least that you can get a preview of what you're going to send on mobile, and you're also optimizing it for mobile accordingly. So like this is just a quick example, right? Like if you notice this one, it is so unreadable, you would have to zoom into it and so forth, but this one is much more easy to read. Obviously, like the image is not shortened and whatnot, and it is much easier to go through. So that is the aspect of when you open the email. But before even opening the email, as I mentioned earlier, there is the name that you see, there is the subject that you see, and then there is also the some part or the starting part of the content that you would see. So now, one of the thing is when it comes to mobile phones, what happens is the subject is usually very short. Because if you have a very long subject, as you can see, it gets truncated over here, right? Because it is too long. The same goes with this one, like it gets truncated over here. But because these are like short subjects, it is much more easier for them to know like what exactly it is, the email that is all about, and it is also something that is more likely to get opened. Okay, so let's look at optimization for mobile, right? When it comes to optimizing emails for mobile, um, like make sure that you include your full name, or at least you put your name, so that it is much more easier. And as I mentioned earlier, it feels more personal. So it also helps improve your open rate, obviously, because then people are like, okay, probably this is an personal email. Then yeah, apart from that, it's also about making sure that your mail is displayed correctly on mobile devices. It should include a good subject line and all of these different things, right? So essentially, what happens is oftentimes when we are working on email marketing, we forget that the way that marketing works, or at least your content or whatever your content that you're promoting looks different in different devices. So it is very important that you remember it and also optimize it accordingly, because based on the majority users or the users where they are from, you may want to optimize your content to be able to let them see it and like at least interact with it properly. So with that said, obviously concise subject line, make it short, keep it short, make it easy, and at the same time a pre-header text. So basically, as you noticed over here, this is the pre-header text, right? So make sure that this is also something that is that at least describes what your email is all about. Then obviously it should also include your full name. So as we talked about it, like it basically makes the emails a lot more personal. Like as I mentioned, like it is important to be mobile optimized, but there is one another thing that we should keep in mind, which is like spam, when email goes to spam. And this is, um, let's say, whatever email tool that you use, right? Whatever email software, etc., that you use, if your email continues to go to spam, there is a high chance that they might actually send warnings to you, and they might also like then ask you not to send emails to that. Or I have seen people also like suspending accounts of ones who have a high spam rate. So the reason for this is, and as someone mentioned here earlier, what happens is because of spam, your domain or your email server will start to get blacklisted. That should never happen. Now, essentially, there is like sometimes what happens is in marketing we are trying to promote something so bad that we end up adding some messaging or some content to it which is not at all good. So for navigating through that and to make sure that the email does not go to spam is also very important. So it's not just about being able to reach the inbox or the updates folder, but it's also about making sure that you don't go to spam. Now, obviously, some of the emails do end up going to spam no matter what you do. That is perfectly fine. It's all about maintaining a good ratio to email to inbox ratio. So usually I would say like having 1% spam rate is okay. That is also on the higher side, but I would say like try to maintain it at that. But with that said, like let's understand more about it, right? So, and for example, let's say if you randomly receive email from someone who does not want to send you emails or you don't even know about. In this example, it's a resort in Goa, and they're talking about their benefits, amenities, and whatnot. But now the first thing is you have no intention to even travel to go in the next 90 days. So in that case, obviously the email is spam because first of all, you don't even know about this. And then second is like you're like suddenly getting something that is not even relevant to you. The situation two is wherein, let's say you're planning to travel to Goa in the next 60 days and you're planning your itinerary and all, and then you received it. But like while this email may not be considered a spam, it is still something that you did not ask for. Okay. So there is a very thin line between spam and overall, let's say, it going to inbox. So it is very important that you send emails for people who you know it is going to be relevant for. So if, for example, someone is interested in shoes, but you send emails to them about jackets, uh, what are the chances that they might like it? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But are you like depending on where you are with your email marketing, you should ask yourself if that is something that you can risk or not. I would say, like, given that that is more or less in the similar industry and category, they may be interested. But now let's just consider another example, right? Let's say you have email list of someone who bought shoes from your store, and now you're trying to send them an email related to, let's say, travel. So that means like probably they are not even they don't even know if they are interested in it or not, unless and until you send them the email saying like you have launched something new, you have launched a travel aspect. A good example of that is Flipkart Travel, Amazon Travel, and whatnot. They basically tie up with these different travel websites to offer like ticket booking, etc. But unless and until it is a feature or something new that you're providing, if they have not asked for this email, or if that email is not relevant for them, then that's pretty much like spam. So now, however, what happens is Going to spam folder means like your email is pretty much like not going to be read, right? But when it goes to promotional folder, it will still have around 19% of read rate. It is low, agreed, but it is still better than going to the spam folder. Now, what this means is across, let's say if 100 emails are sent, 19 emails are read, and the rest are either unread or deleted. And I know for sure, I don't know if this is just me, but I've seen so many of my friends having loads and loads of emails that are just not read. They are just there. And I'm sure most of you can actually relate to that. So it is very important to make sure that your emails are being sent to people who are relevant, as well as people who are have asked for it in some or the other form. Okay, with that, let's proceed further. Let's talk about tips to avoid the promotion folders, right? Okay, so the first thing is the subject line. Now, the subject line obviously is what a user would look at when they are deciding if they would like to open the email or not. So always make sure for avoiding, like if you want to avoid promotion folders, it basically does not have anything related to promotion. Plain and simple, right? Like basically when it comes to Gmail, what it does is it will look at terms like discount, free, off, buy it now, exclamation marks, free trial, guarantee, limited time offer, limited time only. Like these are all of these things. The minute you look at it, that is what you that is the idea that you get, right? Like it's a promotion. And that is what Gmail looks for or Google looks for when they are sorting your email and the bucket that the email should go in. And to make sure that your email does not have these keywords in the subject, you can basically try to create emails that are more relevant and are more information related. So trying to, uh, let's say, I will actually show you an email like, yeah, this one. So today is International Men's Day, right? And this is one of the email that I got from GoDaddy. Now, this email, I actually got it in the updates folder. And you can see the subject actually has, uh, it does not have any promotional or something related to promotion at all. And that is the reason it went into the updates folder. Now, updates folder is something that people read a lot. So, like when I said promotion is 19%, updates is more like 50% or more than that, in fact. So as you can see, what is this email? This email is nothing but a promotion, right? It has like uh, different things about men's and whatnot, and then it's like, okay, get your travel bookings done, and just wishing a men's day or happy men's day, right? So this is basically an example of what your email marketing can look like when you're, let's say, utilizing some kind of an event and such, but essentially making sure that you're not just directly talking about different promotions is what is important. Uh, yeah, the next part is the mail content. And as we just talked about, and we looked at one of the examples, the mail content and the words that you use in that will also result in it. And HTML content also results in the same thing, right? So basically, emails which have a lot of images, all most of the time lands in promotional email or promotional folder, unless and until its content says otherwise. And there is second thing, which is the number of links. That if your email has like multiple links, then obviously it will also be considered as a promotional mail. So the best practice is to include only one link in your mail, so that that link can redirect to a landing page that is related to the email marketing content, right? So this way what happens is you're trying to make sure that your email does not go into promotions because there are like multiple links and whatnot. So this now we earlier we were talking about something around what an email could look like, what a promotional email could look like, and all. We talked about HTML content versus plain text content. So this is what you call as a plain text content. So in this, if you see, this email basically has only one single link, and it talks about like, okay, like essentially it talks about webinar or whatever that is, but it does not have a lot of content around like direct promotion. It is indirectly, or the content is built around making sure that the promotion is more towards having someone register for a webinar. So as you can see, it's like, hi Rajat. The Rajat is the person who received this email, and this email is from Neil Patel. But if you read this email, it feels a lot more personal. It feels like something that you would write as a person as well. So that is one of the way that you can also maximize your reach. Obviously, I'm not saying like all the businesses should do this and all, but uh, at the end of the day, you have to try different types of content. You can try text-based content, you can try HTML content, and see what works with different audience types, and then based on that, you can determine if So then based on that, you can determine if that is the type of content that you would go with. But that is also one of the ways that you can avoid the promotional folder. And yeah, like there's also going to be a lot of free email marketing tools that you might find. I'm not talking about MailChimp particularly, but there are some tools which are like completely offer like a huge free email marketing. Or let's say, for example, if you're sending promotional emails from your web hosting or website hosting and all, there's a high chance that because that's a shared server, there's a good chance of the emails being delivered to promotional folders or sometimes even spam folder, right? So make sure that if your business is working at scale, and I think there was also one of the questions around it, like as you scale up, it is important that you spend money on paid tools. And one of the great things about paid tools is as you also scale up, the cost of that also keeps going down. So it is like a no brainer when it comes to email marketing. Okay, so this is a tool that I personally use a lot, MX Toolbox. And this basically tells you if your domain or your website is blacklisted somewhere or has any blacklisting or something like that, right? So this is a domain that I own, vizuma.com, for example. I can just like look it up, and it has this super tool which looks up like different things. And as you can see, it basically tells me like what are the things that it has checked and what are the problems it has found. So it basically says that there is no DMARC record found, the DMARC policy is not enabled, and the DNS record is published, but it is found as well. So probably the only thing that if I want to use this domain for sending email marketing and all, I would want to make sure that the DMARC record is found and it is also enabled. But that's about it. Similarly, let's look at Myntra. So you can see they have a DMARC report as well. It is also like properly enabled and whatnot, and it is able to send emails properly. Similarly, if I like go to find problems, it will tell me like if there are any specific problems with it. So I can enter myntra.com. Yeah. So it told me like what are the number of problems. It passed like there are almost 637 different tests that they did with problems, and it passed like 630 of those. There are 7 warnings. Then next is blacklist. So apparently there are like 546 blacklists, which is passed as well. Mail server, web server, DNS. So this tool basically tells you all. Some of these things are something that oftentimes the, let's say, server guy or the technical guy is aware of, and it does not require you to take any action, but it is like good to know. So that is what the warning is all about, right? Okay, so when it comes to email, right, or at least like blacklist and whatnot, there are a bunch of technical things. Most of the time, you actually don't need to like look into all of those things. But DMARC is nothing but like a record. So let's say, for example, Myntra, right? So when I say Myntra, so Myntra is a domain name. Now, this domain name, there are certain records, DNS records. I know I'm going a bit technical here, but basically the DNS records you can add. Um, so there's going to be something called as a record. There's going to be SMTP record. There's going to be DKIM record. There are multiple different types of record, and each of them have different use cases and usage. So like for your purpose and how to make sure that it works is, I would say, like uh, best way is to have a technical guy who understands this to work with it. But usually it is pretty simple to go forward. So as you can see, like there are different things, right? SMTP is there. Let me zoom in a bit. So there's SMTP, there's SPF record, text record, there's PTR record, CNAME. So all of these things are nothing but DNS records. And most of the time, it is very easy to add them as well. If you're missing something, you just use this tool. You just look it up, and it will tell you like what are the things that you're missing and how you can proceed forward with that. And all of these records are nothing but something that helps recognize if your domain is valid, true, and whatever email you're sending is also something that comes from a valid source. So this is a website which basically shows like what are the different domain records, and as you can see, like there's like a bunch of these, and DMARC record is just like one of these records, right? It essentially is a validator which validates if your domain is something like essentially if let's say if you're sending an email through that domain, your domain is validly mapped to the email server or not. That's about it. So that's essentially what DMARC is. Basically, you're talking about DMARC being important, right? Yes, it is important. But as I mentioned, like it is also something that you can easily set up. You will need to have a domain. You will need to have all of those different things on the website. But yeah, you can definitely like set it up. So uh, let's just say, let me just go with this one. Okay, so it tested if the demarc record is published or not, and the demarc record was not found, right? So what you do is you just click on more info, and then it will tell you like what exactly the problem is and how you can proceed further. So I would suggest that you actually go through this. If you have a domain where you're trying to, where you see this error, one of the best tool about MX Box is whatever errors you see, they will also provide you a way to solve it. So just go through it and you will be able to correctly identify like the best way to put it across on your domain as well. Okay, so we looked at MX Toolbox as well, and as I mentioned, like just run the tool, you'll be able to find if your domain mail has been blacklisted somewhere. Blacklist is what you would want to avoid, and if you are blacklisted, you can definitely contact these. MX Toolbox actually offers a way for you to like get yourself whitelisted again, and it's quite straightforward for you to do that if you're blacklisted in any of the uh, let's say lists that checks for spam and all. The So this is also one of the things that I mentioned earlier. You should always try to avoid going to spam, because the more you go to spam, there's a good chance that one of the lists would add you to blacklist. And these lists are used by all the different email service providers like Gmail, Outlook, and so forth to understand if your domain is a part of a blacklist or not. Okay, so now let's look at how to compose a good email, right? Now, we sort of touched upon this as we have been going through the entire session so far. The body of a good email should not have more than 100 words, right? So basically, for a B2C, like for a B2C business, if you're sending promotional mailers and have all, they can they should have words that are within 100 words itself. And for B2B, your first mail should be less than 100 words. The reason for this is uh, basically when someone is reading your email, for them it should be very easy to go through. They should be able to they should not be like, okay, there's a long email, I will not read it and all. So the best way is to make sure that the number of words that you have is less. There are multiple tools for counting word counter is one of them, which you can use. I've shared the link for that as well. Yeah. Next is a good subject line, right? And this is something that we have been talking about. And Sujay, as you mentioned, like I would suggest that you take a look at this as well to make sure that you don't go to spam. It's basically personalizing the subject, making sure that you add a product or name the product where the user has shown interest. And I'm not talking that you should include all of these in the subject line, but try to add as much relevant content and as much personal content as possible. You can also add a number so that it's easier for audience to understand the value. But again, you should do it only if it makes sense or if it is relevant. You don't need to actually add it if it is like out of the context. You should also look at curiosity, try to gain curiosity of the users. The Go IBO email that I showed is a good example of that. And you should keep the subject line short. And this is actually a good link to test your subject line as well. I would suggest that you also use this when you're building your emails. Now, the next thing is follow the WVQ principle. So what is this? This is nothing but why email. So essentially, this is where you address why you're sending the user an email. So this should always be there in your email body. That is. Second is the value. You should highlight the value or the benefit that the user will get when they go through your instructions in the email. And third is a question. So essentially, whenever you're sending any promotional content, you should have a call to action. In terms of an email, it is going to be your question, right? So let's say if it is a normal email that you have composed, you should try to ask them a question so that they respond to it. And if let's say if it is more of a promotional mail, the you can basically go away with question. You can just have a button which acts more like a call to action, wherein you're asking the user to take an action. The next thing is adding an email signature. So this basically is what makes it more personable. You add your personality to it. You make sure that it's easy to communicate. It becomes like an online visiting card and also helps you promote. Now, why does it help promote? Because the email signature, oftentimes, after we have written our name, designation, number, and whatnot, we can also add some kind of a promotion like let's say some kind of an offer that is running on the store and so forth. So Bluemix has basically been deprecated by IBM, and they have now come up with a different um, thing altogether, which is called as natural language understanding. This has a lot more things. It's like it has concepts, entities, keywords, category, sentiment, and then emotion. So these are different things that it has available. You can just proceed with demo, and you can like put your text here and analyze the text, and it'll like basically give you like different classification and all of those things, so that you can get an understanding of what the emotion is. So as you can see, like when you go to classification emotion, it tells you like if it is related to joy, sadness, disgust, all of these different things. So when if you would like to analyze the emotion that your subject is portraying, you can probably utilize this. So let's get to it, right? Now, I'm going to talk about MailChimp, basically building a mail campaign. I'm going to look at MailChimp for that. Like obviously, like there are multiple ways for you to do it, but and there's like a bunch of slides around it. I'm not going to go through the slides. I'm going to go through the platform directly. Yeah, I'm just going to use this account. It's a free account again. I don't even remember last I logged into this. Okay, so the minute you open it, uh, like basically you get a dashboard which has details on the audiences. Audiences are nothing but people who have your email subscribers. You will have on the left hand side, you have an option for creating an email campaign. You have an option to view all of your campaigns. So when I go to this, you can see like there are some test campaigns that I created in this. There are some email templates that you can also view. So if I have bought any, so they also have a marketplace for that. If I've saved any of the email templates, you can also view that. Then there is the audience part, right? So audience is where you will have all of your users. So in the audience, obviously there are like all the contacts of yours. What are the different lists of yours? And if you notice, there is something called as a segmentation, right? So essentially, you can select a new segment. You can segment it based on different things. So if you notice over here, let's just say, for example, this particular list that I have, I want to create a segment of this. Okay, so it has like 3 email IDs. It has test1, test2, test3, and I want to create a segment of this. So what I can do is I can just select new segment based on the data I added, right? So obviously I can match this based on any or all, but let's say contacts match all of the following condition. So I'm like, then there are all of these different conditions that are available. Obviously, you can customize some of these conditions as well based on the data that you upload here. But let's say, for example, birthday. So I want to segment people who have their birthdays in different months. So I can be like, okay, their birthday month is in basically, let's say February or March and so forth. And I can just like preview segment and it will tell me like how many users come into that segment. Similarly, if let's say if I go to email marketing engagement is new. What this means is like I have never interacted with them so far and they are very new. Rarely. Essentially, they engaged once or twice, but like they are not really engaging that much. Sometimes it's like okay, probably they engage sometimes, but not always. And often is like every time I send an email, there is like 4 out of 5 times they are going to engage with that email. What is an engagement? Engagement is nothing but them doing or taking some action, be it opening the email, be it clicking a link, be it uh, also like purchasing something, be it anything, right? So they are engaging. So I can segment it based on engagement. Marketing status. So over here is one of, let's say I can say they are subscribed, unsubscribed, maybe someone has unsubscribed and then you want to get them back. They have not even subscribed. Like essentially these are the list of emails that you um, got of customers who who are your customers, but at the same time they are like they don't want to receive email. This is important because of GDPR. If you're let's say if you're doing email marketing in Europe or any country that uses GDPR policies, then you have to keep a note of this. And then cleaned is nothing but let's say bounced email addresses and whatnot. So similarly, you have like multiple different things available. So you can also have like automation activity. You can also have campaign activity wherein they opened any of the last 5 campaigns. Conversation app activity. Like there are so many different ways that you can segment it. So someone was asking about segmentation of audience, right? Like this is exactly how you do it. You can select all of this, you can preview segment, and then you can create a segment of your existing list. So for example, let me sheets or new. Yeah. So let me show something. For example, over here, let's just say we have audience, let's just call them customers and newsletter subscribers. Yes, this is for existing. Basically, when you're doing email marketing, you would be doing it for the subscribers of your emails, right? So that is what this is about. So let's say if your business has customers, if it has newsletter subscribers, right? So maybe you have somewhere around 10,000 customers, and then maybe you have somewhere around 50,000 newsletter subscribers. So now what you can do is you can either send the emails to them directly, or what you can do is you can create a list based on um, segment one, which can be related to, let's say, purchased shoes. So maybe you're selling shoes, then maybe you're selling jackets. Then let's say maybe you're selling hats, right? So essentially you have like different type of users. Now to make sure that your email content is more relevant to them, you would segment them, right? So maybe out of 10,000, let's say 2,000 of them purchase shoes, and 4,000 of them purchase jackets, and the other 4,000 of them purchase hats. So what you can do is you can essentially create this segmentation. You can divide these existing audiences of 10,000. So let's say if you're trying to segment or send relevant emails to these users, you can segment them based on their purchases. You can segment them based on their behaviors and so forth, right? So that is the crux of this segmentation. So audiences has that, you can manage them, you can understand like what are the different segments around it, and so forth. Then you have something called as automations. Automations is nothing but for you to like build a journey. So as we talked about it earlier, you can actually build a proper automation here wherein you can send create essentially like repeat customers. You can abandon cart reminders, send order confirmation. These are pre-built journeys that they already have, so you can utilize these. Or what you can also do is you can create a journey of your own if you have some like a customized automation journey that you want, wherein you want to do something different. Okay. Then there's like transactional emails is also something that you can send through MailChimp if you would like to. Um, Analytics is again based on the performance and all, the number of emails sent, open rate, click rate. You guys might remember the dashboard that I was talking about, right? So this is an example of that dashboard. As it can see, like this is a sample data, but it gives you a good idea of how your email has been performing and all of those things. So as you can see, like it shows the campaign sent, what the campaign is, how many emails were sent, what is the click rate. Similarly over here, what is the click rate and so forth. So if I disable, look at the click rate over here, or maybe let's say I just said this none, and I just want to know the number of users who have opened it. So I get to see like every day how many people opened it. I can get to see how many people unsubscribe from it. So all of these analytics is also available for you to easily go through. So these are some of the important things, right? These are additional products that MailChimp has, but these are some of the things that you would essentially look at when you're utilizing MailChimp. Okay, so let's quickly look at some of the emails with bad content to understand like what are the type of content to avoid. Okay, so like when you look at this, right, the minute if you open an email if you see it, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Would you even go ahead and read it? What do you think? Clumsy? Absolutely. Abdul says no. I completely agree. Exactly. So that's the thing, right? Like when you're sending emails, and as I was mentioning earlier, like try to limit it to 100 words so that it is easy to read, and it try to make sure that there are different paragraphs which convey the messages of why and what you're offering, a question or a call to action, right? So don't send emails which are this lengthy. At least your first email, try to keep it concise, and then you can try to improve upon it. This one again, as you can see, like there are like two links that they are offering, and there are like so many content. While like I might be reading like one or two parts of it, there's like just so many things that he's talking about, right? So try to make sure that you are providing good value. Then there is this email as well, right? So this looks like something from 2008 or something like that. Like that is the era that this email comes from. So having a good email template also matters a lot, because that essentially tells you like if people are going to use it. And as you can see, there's so much content over here. Like there's a good chance that they might not even like it. So these are just some examples I wanted to show so that you understand like what to avoid. And then further we can look at like what are the things that you should do to make email marketing more efficient. We sort of discussed some of these already, but let's look into that in a much deeper way. GDPR, it had a huge impact on email marketing. So basically, GDPR is something that talks about the data that we collect, and how we store the data, and the transparency of the data, plus the customers being able to know what data is and also being able to delete that data. Second is, it also talks about consent. So did the customer consent to receiving your email? Did they consent to share their email with you? Did they consent to, or are they aware if they have the access to the data that they have with you or not? So while GDPR is primarily focused only in Europe, the European region and all, uh, any company who has presence in US will probably also try to market in Europe. So that is the reason they had to change their entire method of how they would do email marketing. So because of this, when it comes to email marketing these days, most of the companies will do a double opt-in. What that means is, the first opt-in is when someone would essentially sign up or fill a form on your website and confirm that they are going to receive the marketing emails from you. They say yes for that. Second opt-in is, once they say yes, they will receive an email wherein they will have to confirm that they have shared the email ID here, and they would want to continue receiving the email or not. So if they click or confirm that they are okay to receive those, that is the double opt-in. So this essentially, while it impacted a lot in how the emails were collected by companies, the number of email collections reduced. However, it also in a way made sure that whatever emails were being sent, or whoever was subscribing to these emails, they indeed in fact wanted to receive them. So that actually also ended up increasing the conversion rate, because the number of emails that were being sent got lowered. So that impacted and made the emails more relevant. So there is pros and cons of it, obviously, but at the end of the day, it's all about being transparent and being able to make sure that you are targeting to the customers in the right way. So that is what GDPR had done. And it essentially scrubbed a lot of the spam and the way that the data is being shared and all, especially in Europe, not in India because it's not applicable in India, but yeah, especially in Europe. Okay, so let's look at making email marketing efficient, right? So we already talked about it, but the main crux of this is segmentation of email. So basically, these are some of the different areas where you can segment your email. We already looked at some of the deeper and advanced ways that you can segment emails, but you can also look at new customers, add to cart customers, non-active users, category specific. We talked about categories. So yeah, basically when you segment users, right, you can make sure that the emails that you send is for that segmented user list. And by doing that, the content that you send to them is more relevant. So essentially, your emails become more and more effective and more optimized. So we also looked at email list, collection of email address, and how you can distinguish other email and all. So and this is the last part that basically I wanted to talk about, and which a lot of you were asking about as well, right? How to build an email list. Obviously, you can purchase email database. I honestly don't recommend this because oftentimes what happens is the email databases or the people who are selling the email database, that email might end up blacklisting your domain. But if you have a valid agency that knows the exact market data and all, then you might go for it. But at the same time, it's a very high risk, especially in today's world. So you will get a lot of offers for purchasing email database. If given so many transparency laws and relevance laws, etc., I would not recommend this. Affiliate agencies. So you can run affiliate campaigns for emails, or you can work with affiliate agencies to get email list. These are good because what happens is a lot of agencies that basically run affiliate campaigns, they have list of users, their interest, and what they are into. However, these are people who have not subscribed to you. So you can, because, however, as we were looking at it, if you know who the user is and what the user is all about, and given that GDPR is not in India, thankfully, so far, you can still leverage those lists to send relevant emails. And those, if those emails are relevant, obviously there's a good chance that you might find conversions for them. Third is referrals. Obviously, you can try to build emails through people referring to your email list, or let's say saying that the content that you share is good, or having other people refer to sign up to your emails. One of the good ways to do it is by running a contest wherein you can have or have people sign up to your email ID and such. And finally, you can also look at social media and all to collect email address. So basically asking them to go to a landing page and submit a form through social media. Okay, so how to build an email list, right? Like I was talking about lead magnets. So this is one of the lead magnets. You can uh, essentially like provide a checklist of things that people should do, or your relevant audience might do. So let's say if you're a marketing agency, talk about a checklist of on-page SEO, talk about how to look at marketing, or how to look at Google ads, for example, how to look at email marketing itself. And you can provide some kind of a checklist template, and for them to get those things, they would have to share their emails with you. So that essentially gives them a reason for them to essentially sign up with your email list. Second is then this is again another example, like you can create something like this. A cheat sheet for blog post or an ebook is also something that you can provide. White papers is something that you can provide. You can provide toolkits, you can provide SOPs, process notes, whatever it is, right? It's essentially trying to leverage some of the data that you already have, and creating lead magnets using it. Even big companies like Oracle or Salesforce and all of these companies, right? They also use lead magnets to uh, gain business contacts, and this is has been and is still one of the best ways to sort of get or build an email list. This is another example. Create a professional client proposal. So you can basically have a sample proposal, and you can like send it to them on email when they sign up to you, right? So that's pretty much how you can like look at building a list as well. So yeah, Apart from that, we can also look at some of the industry benchmarks. These benchmarks are, I would say, uh, somewhat a bit dated, but at the same time, this gives you a good idea of what are the different like industry open rates, click rate, and unsubscription rate. So this also helps you understand like it's okay to get unsubscribes, and it's also okay to get let's say 3%, 2%, or 1% clicks. Overall, on average, I have seen an open rate of somewhere between 20 to 30%. And this is across industries, right? And when it comes to clicks, I've seen it between 2% to 5%. So that's the average that I usually look at. If let's say, if any list is doing better than that, that's amazing. Probably I would try to optimize that more. I would try to utilize that more, but this gives you a basic idea of what are the targets that you should try to achieve.
Just a quick info, guys. Intellipaat provides an advanced certification in digital marketing and analytics course by CCE IIT Madras. You will get to learn from IIT Madras faculty and industry experts. Reach out to us to know more.